As the calendar draws to a close in a couple weeks' time, 8 drivers find themselves remaining fighting for a championship. Here we are for the ARCS Midwest Barbecue A² Cup Series. My name is Kevin Young, bringing you here all the action for the round 22 out of 24 left in the calendar for the sweet home Alabama 250 here at Talladega. Like I was alluding to in that intro, after last week's elimination race at Bristol, there's only three more rounds to go. Talladega, Michigan, and then the finale at Homestead, where at the end of that, we will crown a champion in just a couple weeks' time. Right now, we are currently on board watching Lilac's here, as she is about to finish up her second lap here, as she is going to try to put down a time to put herself in the top half of the field. Obviously, Lilac's here, one of the 8 players that advance to the next round next week, and she is looking poised to try to make it to the next round here and give herself a good run. Obviously, all the drivers that are still in the playoffs are notified with green on your screen, and we'll see how it all goes over the course of well over, give or take, 94 laps. Obviously, these drivers first will have to qualify as we find out who else is on a run here. Looks like Alfred George about to finish up his run. Most drivers that you see right now have done qualifying laps. 23 cars right now. When Alfred George crosses the line, he will be 24. With only Battles, Roberts, Thompson, and Markowski, the only names not 2 times, and all of them are not in the playoffs. Nay, did not qualify. So we'll see where they can go. So as Alfred George running the high wall here, very interesting strategy. Wobbly wants to start in the back here, play it safer than sorry. As he comes across the line, it's going to be good enough for 23rd. And I think he actually gets a second run here because we saw Zier, actually, even though it says he was on lap, coming into lap 2 of 2, looks like that second lap may have did count, so she's up to 9th. So we'll see how this lap pushes here. And Alfred George running the bottom here, holding the bottom now. Obviously, first lap was running the high side. And you'll see here as we go on board with the driver in question here, if we can ever find the right camera, you can see it's about holding that bottom, not slipping the throttle, pinching the end side here, and make sure not to overrun it, and make sure you keep as much speed as you can through the corners. As you can see, relatively smooth there for the number 40 machine. So as he comes to the tri-oval here, obviously you know it's a common occurrence at Talladega for commentators to point out that the stripe here is not in the tri-oval. It's right here just out the pit lane. And as George comes across the line, he will shoot up to P14. So with 2 minutes and change to go, presumably the other drivers will not be able to put down laps, as with the warm lap being about 50 minutes and the second lap being the money lap. This is how it's going to shake up. So Jonathan Adams going to get another pole position here in his number 8 machine for B-Tron. And it is plate races have been dominated by the B-Tron cars. Actually, I think he drives for, not for B-Tron, so my mistake on that one. But after that, it is Millett and Hagan, the 2 drivers that you could definitely say have the best shot to make the Final Four in a couple weeks' time. They'll be also flying off with Sears and Gaiman. So as the rest of the screen files through here, and we got 2 minutes to go here, we'll actually take a look at those standings real fast and show you where, after Bristol last week, where all the drivers lie. So, obviously, I would say if you want to avoid spoilers and watch the race, it was a good race. Go watch now on the ABN Studios YouTube page, where you can watch all the back catalog of A². But we'll take a look at that now, as that is actually the silver bracket. Should have labeled these. There we are. You can see right there, Hagan, 12 points above the line, with Zach Millett 8 points adrift. Pelletier Sharp, with her win last week, gave her 1 extra point, putting her above the cut line. Proudfoot is currently the cut line. And then you got Zier, Michelle, Gaiman, and Featherplace, the next 4 on down. And you can see how truly close this is going to be here between the action between these cars, as it is pretty much game on for these spots and these drivers, as they're going to fight tooth and nail to get those extra little points and those extra little cavities to try to push their way up. And obviously with Talladega being a track where friends can really come into play. For instance, we look at this list here. Featherplace, Michelle, they are teammates. Sharp and Gaiman, they are teammates. And after that, the other 4 drivers are by the Little Lonesome. Hagan drives for B-Tron. Millett drives for Bandit. Proudfoot drives for Tombstone Motorsports. And Lilac Zier drives for Presidential. And obviously, they have friendships, partnerships outside the series and whatnot. But that's the only partnerships they have. And obviously, it makes it a little bit easier because with some of these teams like Presidential, they may work tooth and nail to make sure Zier gets a good spot. But if you're Lion Power, for instance, you're fighting for constructors, but there's no friends at line power. Obviously, you don't want to wreck your teammate, but at the end of the day, it's every man for themselves, or in some of these cases, every woman for themselves, like your cats and a few others. But it's just a race on here, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. And with it being so close, how aggressive will these drivers be in the stage before it all comes to a conclusion? But right now, warm-up qualifying has officially concluded here, and it is going to be Jonathan Adams taking pole position here with Millet and Hagan in the next 3 spots there. So as you can see, Adams, Millet, Hagan, your top 3, as now we head on to warm-up. So we're going to keep that pole graphic up on the screen just a little bit longer here, as I did actually slip it on. So we'll let JTT get their little extra moment here, and warm-up has concluded. So qualifying has officially concluded. We're in warm-up now, and while that graphic stays on the screen, we'll take a look at the silver bracket as well. This is obviously for the drivers that did not make the playoffs, and unlike the drivers that were eliminated over the past couple weeks, they do not officially re-enter the silver bracket once they are eliminated. So this is just for the drivers that did not make the playoffs after Daytona. And right now, Bren Roberts, after having a good stage racing at Bristol, did not finish the greatest. Ryan Pinnell was able to close that gap by 10. Remember, if you remember quite fondly, Ryan Pinnell was sick last week after Bristol. So it's good to see him back in the car, back up to speed and up to snuff as he's looking in his swan song season here to try to take the silver bracket challenge and try to crash the party at the All-Star race just after the season finale. So this is where the silver brackets find your favorite driver and see how they're competing on. For some, it is just for pride. Others looking to maybe get that little extra trophy and show why going to next season, when there's the draft and teams repick again, why maybe if you can go to them and say, hey, I got a silver bracket to my name, that's why I'm valuable, and definitely show off your accolades. So as the race continues on here, just going to do one quick little update to my mic. My mic's not picking up the highest here as I'm kind of listening in on it. So I'm going to bump this up just a little bit. Make sure, let me know if it is a little bit on the low side, high side, how it's going. Because obviously I can only kind of go by what I see and the little peaking of the audios here. So we'll see if that picks up a little bit better here. It can be heard a little bit better throughout the broadcast. So we're going to continue on with qualifying. We're going to talk some of the narratives here as it picks on action here. Bring up some of the narratives, talk about some of the stories, and see what's going on. Like I've said before, B-Tron, we see Hagan hit the pit lane, has been the team at the plate races. But at the moment, at the very least, B-Tron has struggled to find wins. Hagan, obviously, the last driver to win for... Actually, no. Yeah, no, he was the last driver to win for B-Tron because... No, actually, no, sorry. I'm trying to remember because Kenny Reel did substitute in, but I think he substituted in for Braille. So technically, B-Tron won the last plate race at Daytona with Kenny Reel driving that 74 machine, if I'm not mistaken. I'll see if I can check the history books here real fast to confirm whether that was a B-Tron or he was filling in for Feather Plays. He was driving for the... Yeah, he was driving for... Actually, I can't tell here off this list. So regardless, B-Tron was very strong in that plate race regardless, and it's been a while since B-Tron has found victory lane, but you know they're a team that's very strong at these plate races and can shine out there. So right now, at the moment, keep your eye on B-Tron to try to bust the narratives. At the same point, you can't count out drivers like Zach Millett here, who has won... He, along with Pelletier Sharp, have won all the races so far in the playoffs. Pelletier Sharp won Bristol, and Millett has won the other 3. So looking to keep that performance going and try to punch their ticket into the Final 4. That's some other narratives to kind of go over as well. Obviously, there is penalty points that can play a factor, as these drivers do have to make sure they play nice and be careful here, as if a driver ends up getting a warning, getting a penalty, getting something, it could end up hurting them in the standings and take them out of consideration if they end up getting too many penalty points. So they have to be careful in incident points and make sure they don't rack up points penalties, as with it being so close, if you throw away 5 points, it could be a difference between going into Michigan next week with a must-win or, at the very least, being in a marginal distance to try to cash in your ticket. And speaking of, like I was kind of alluding to with stages, there is that one other thing that's wrong with stages. These drivers, some like to be aggressive in the stages, others don't. And with this not being a cut race, this being the first race, you have to set the tone well for Michigan. And I think a lot of these playoff drivers are going to kind of have to know that back of their mind. Got to run in that top 10, but knowing that top 10 can be the danger zone, can be a spot where wrecks can occur with drivers being over-aggressive, it raises the suspicion of how hard you fight to get a few extra points and maybe making next week from being, again, possibly a must-win to being a lot more breathable room to try to make a late lunch. So different strategies for different drivers, but the one thing, the worth note at the very least, I don't think we can predictably say with a straight face any of these 8 drivers are favorite to be locked in at the end of Talladega tonight. I don't think any of these 8 drivers have a chance to win here tonight, and any of these 8 drivers have a chance to go to my Homestead in a couple weeks and fight for the championship. Warm-up officially concluded here, and it's going to be Gaiman, Sharp, Mill at the 3 fastest, but neither will be on the pole. That will be Jonathan Adams as we head on to the main race. As we get ready, as the drivers end up going onto the grid here, we are going to take a quick look at the starting grid here and see where everyone's going to line off. Jonathan Adams and Zach Mill, they will make up row number 1 here as they will fire off in first position. John Hagan and Tom Sears, they will be in row number 2 as they'll fire off next. Josh Gaiman and Brandon Proudfoot will be in row 3. Both trying to find that good form in the next round here, trying to make a good run here. Stefan Oberstadt won at Talladega last year. He'll be in row 4 alongside Mark DeLayla trying to have a good run. Pelletier Sharp and Lilac Sear will be in the next row in row number 5. Seth Wanzing and Ross Baxter will be in row number 6. And as we move further down the grid, we got Patrick Oberstadt and Alfred George in row 7, Michael Lawrence and Tommy Withers in row 8, Brandon Featherplace and Daniel Michelle in row number 9. The lowest of the playoff drivers and teammates for Line Power will be in that row. Kevin Feemster and James Kerr will round out the first 10 rows. With James Wright, Donald Ray, good to see him back. He'll be in row number 11. Row number 12, as it flips over there, Austin Mongold and Jeremy Brayout. Row 13, Bren Roberts and Dale Markowski. And the last row will be Josh Battles and Selena Thompson will make up the 28-car field here tonight. So this is go time now. Stages will end up breaking up here, as I will quickly check, make sure I got the numbers right here before I fire off 2 numbers. But the stages will be at lap 20 and lap 45 here. So short, mad dashes before we see the end of this thing. And that, again, getting 10 points could be crucial. And if you end up getting no stage points, you could be in a bit of a hole come Michigan in a couple weeks' time. Well, actually, not a couple weeks, a week, as it is next week. So we should only get 1 pace lap here. Worth noting as well, as it is tradition A-squared competition, drivers do get 1 fast repair for the disposals. So they do get 1 extra fast repair. Do not have to worry about said fast repair. But after that, it is game, basically, lost my train of thought there. But it is basically a situation where they are up to the river here. They'll have to make do, so you got to be careful but aggressive to try to make something happen. And lastly, looking at the constructors as well, Line Power still has a commanding lead. They want to make sure they get their drivers finished up and try to make sure they can lead the constructors coming out tonight and make sure they have themselves with a healthy gap heading into Miami in a couple weeks' time. And one more kind of narrative to go over real fast as the pace car in the field comes off of 4. For drivers that are outside right now, this is a good chance for some drivers to, again, like I was saying, find a win here tonight. It gives you that kind of baggage. It gives you that kind of accolades to go to other teams during the offseason and say, hey, you should draft me for next season, and this is why. Pace car going to pull on off. It's going to be on Adams to control, a driver that's really going to need that good form here, really itching for a win. Green flag is out as they enter the restart zone, and away we go for the Sweet Home Alabama 250 here at Talladega. As it come out of the tribal here, Zach Millett going to take off where he's been so far in this playoffs. He will lead lap number 1. And even though there isn't a bonus point for leading a lap, that is still good for the pride of that number 31 machine. Inside, though, you can see Adams getting help there with John Hagan. So it's a B-Tron 1-2 down low as they are pushing on that low side. But look at that good run you can see on the high side. Millett, Sears, odd friends working together here. Sears was eliminated last week, but obviously still hungry to get a win. Last win came over a year ago at Atlanta, so trying to get that golden streak broken here and find his way back to victory lane. One thing to note as well, obviously you can see on the timing and scoring board drivers in green, but at the same point, the drivers that are in the playoffs have green windshield banners on their cars, like you can see with Zach Millett, Josh Gaiman in the far shot. Obviously, Hagen's was supposed to be green, but looks like it has not loaded in. But for the rest, they should be green. So you can use that as a bit of an indicator for the cars in question. But obviously, we're kind of far away, so maybe it's not showing up the best. But right now, Adams, Hagan, low side here, and you can see a third line beginning to form here. Roberts trying to make that line work here on that third groove as he's pushing out on that high side. You can see, obviously, the camera shot got on the wall there, but there's Seth Wanzing. If I'm going to try to get up the field here, there you can see right there, it's Bren Roberts and Mark DeLayla working on that high side here, trying to make that third group of viality. And you don't usually see this on lap 3, but you can look in that 5 cars. Featherplace is the only playoff driver in that list. After that, it's silver bracket driver, Donald Ray, not obviously full-time competition, and another silver bracket driver. So obviously just going for broke here. They want the checkered flag, but look up front. Adams gets kind of split here, and you can see right there, Millett going to push the inside here. Big fan out, though. His car's almost got a little bit loose there. One car going way low. That's Cheeseburger Lawrence as they all fan up through the field here as everyone has gotten it straightened out here. But very early on, drivers just fighting to try to get spots. But right there, Millett in tow with Sears. Now Sears going to be in middle groove. Look at Hagan jumping up. Millett going to cover it off, though. Usually can't do that with too many times without making enemies. Sears and Millett will stay on the inside, and that opens the door on the low side here for Proudfoot and Hagan. Hagan, Adams for B-Tron in the middle here. Hagan will leave that lap, but he gets a little squirrely off the front end of Adams. He will now jump up in front of Millett, making it a B-Tron leading both lanes here. And you can see that little stack up happened a little bit further back. We saw a car kind of get a little bit loose. No one ended up going around, but you can see it's really checked up this field, and some cars just said, I don't want any of this. I'm going to jump to the back here. 2 grooves now beginning to form. Third groove has kind of the middle groove there has pretty much died out. Zier is going to have to jump in tow here along with Mongold, leaving the 2 trains being led right now between Adams and Millett, leading the first 2 trains here. Look at that. Gaiman going to split the middle there on the inside. Going to get a good charge. Leave Roberts. Roberts not going to have to jump high side here in front of Hagan. So caught a little bit napping. Gaiman knowing how to kind of work his car to put it in good spots. He will jump to the middle side. Adams will lead that lap here on lap 6. So you can see the rest of the car through the back here. Up front, you can see Hagan getting a good charge. He is all alone on that third groove. Roberts pushing Adams loose. He's going to have to check up. He'll slide back up, but that is going to kill the momentum of that low line. As you can see, cars fanning out here for position. That's going to leave Roberts with a good run here. He is going to be way up front here with a good tow. As you can see, now going to jump low side here. So Roberts, Millett going to be 1-2 here, and then you can see that third line led by Hagan with Seth Wanzing in tow pushing on that high side. Lap 7 in the book. Hagan will lead that lap there. And you can see again, even though it's only lap 7, these drivers are riding like there's 7 laps to go in this race. Wanzing going to ditch Hagan at the altar, and he's going to jump low side here in front of Roberts. Former Sunday Money Racing teammates, a.k.a. Tombstone Racing, now on that low groove. And now Hagan with help from Millett. So enemies in the playoffs working together for the greater good as they will work up on that high side here. Sears in the middle groove along with Featherplace. 2 line power cars ditched out. You can see, though, on the far shot, Millett right there just ahead. We'll see if he maybe jumps down here to help out his teammate and his friends there. But right now, it's still Wanzing up front. And you can see Michelle does jump low. Wanzing going to go high, get away from Roberts to try to control the lanes here. And this time by, Juan's going to make a move, but look at Adams. He's gone from almost getting spun from the field, now back to the middle groove here, and they're going to split Wanzing, and it's going to be Adams, Hagen, and Roberts jumping up to the front groove here with Millet in tow. Now that middle groove beginning to kind of rock us around two, with Michelle, Sears, and Featherplace going to catch up to the back of Millet here. Usually when we get these plate races, and you'll probably see it tomorrow night if you do tune in on ABN1's Twitch channel for the HDL cutoff race at Talladega for the playoffs, drivers are usually calm at these early stages, riding around, but knowing how important stage points can be this early on, a lot of these drivers not taking no prisoners here and just going to have the fun of it to try to get as much of a spot as they can. Adams still clear at the moment. Now Millet going to be on the low side here with help from Michelle. Again, two playoff drivers working together here to try to help each other out. Adams will lead that lap, but Millet getting a good run. Hagen going to jump to the high side here with Adams. They're going to cover off Seth Wanzing, as Zier's going to be in line too. So lead cars of each line right now are Millet, Adams, and Sears in the middle groove. And you can see how close they are to that wall there, Jonathan Adams. We'll see if we can get a good shot here in a second. So we'll go, I believe we'll get this camera set up in a second here. We're actually going to ride on board here for like maybe a half lap here with John Hagen. And you can just see right now how racy it's getting. We'll cut back to a second. Outside line losing momentum. But you can see Bren Roberts going to jump up along with Brandon Proudfoot. So we're going to cut back up there and get off the hood camera there. And you can see Roberts wants to lead a lap here, wants to extend his silver bracket lead. And he will be right now unable to do it. So he won't lead that lap. Millet will still take that lap. Stage feels like it is just flying by at the moment. Remember, stage ends at officially lap 20. So it is a short run here to the end of stage number 1. And again, look how close they are running to that wall right now in that third groove on the high line. Two cars going to pull up. Baxter and Featherplace. They are going to jump to the high groove here and cover it off. So they're going to jump in front of those two cars. Up front, it's still Roberts and Proudfoot. The Twisted Metal Machine doing a good job right now. Some say maybe he's been a bit of a sleeper this playoff. But he's definitely flexing his muscle right now when the chips are down. Remember, he won the opening round at the Clash. He's definitely a driver willing to take alt strategies to try to find victories when need be. We can look at Nashville when he took those two tires to victory. Featherplace now going to be on the high side here. Regular season champion 1 year ago and Final Four driver last season, looking to do what only he and Gaiman can do and be the only two drivers from last season to make the Final Four this season. Neither driver was able to come home with the flag, both finishing, I believe, 4th and 3rd, respectively, in the Final Four. So overall, though, trying to rectify some of the wrongs from last season, and even then, it's not a bad run for Featherplace, who was not even going to start the season, came in a little bit late and had to claw his way back up to get into the top 16 and came out being the second best driver without a win in the points. Robert's going to jump up in front of Featherplace, will keep controlling those lines, and he will lead that lap again, but Proudfoot and Millet coming in on the low side with Michelle in tow. Some separation you can see as we'll take a wide shot here. You can see a little bit of a gaggle happening up there just behind that inside line, right where Bren Roberts is, Mark DeLayla, I should say. Pelletier Sharp leaving a big gap there for the next car in line. If I can find her on my list here. There she is. As you can see right there, big gap focusing up here. So right on board here for a little bit here. As you can see, obviously won last week at Bristol, and she's getting a good run here on the low side. Zier not going to be able to cover it off, but she's leaving a lot of gap on that low line. Maybe being smart, maybe not over-pushing, just wanting to make sure she doesn't end up maybe getting into an early wreck here. As you can see, Wanzing going to take the middle groove, maybe finding his way down. Look at it again, even with Don Ray. We go up one spot, a lot of separation on this low line here, leaving cars with the ability to jump low here. You can see just up the road, DeLayla and Roberts, Gaiman as well. They may pull in here as we're seeing heavy separation in this early line. So as we watch action playing on, it is still Proudfoot, Millet, Michelle, your top three here. Battle still raging on. Had a few too many tabs open, so I had to settle that down, get some graphics cleared out here. Roberts now going to go high side here. We'll see if Donald Ray elects to go with him. James Kerr had to jump the pit lane here. We'll take a look at the track map here with only a handful of laps to go in the stage. You can see only one of the cars lost the touch of the draft. That's a 71 of Josh Battles, as he is also looking to reel in and try to survive going a lap down here, as he has lost the touch of the draft. Up front, though, it's Roberts, Ray, Sharp on the high groove. On the low groove, it is Proudfoot who gets a little bit of a bad push there in the corner. You don't bump in the corners when you can't do it, but you can see Michelle and Gaiman trying to push that 22 clear here, try to break up that Bren Roberts show up front. That's how the Roberts and Ray still 1-2 at the moment, but time's beginning to fall. You can see that outside line beginning to charge. Even that third group with Feather Place, knowing how crucial it is to get stage points, maybe buying their time a little bit. Right now, for reference point, drivers currently outside stage points right now. As you watch this battle is John Hagan, who's currently sitting 19th on that inside line. You'll see him in that Dr. Pepper machine just behind Jonathan Adams, currently 20th. He can bleed some stage points, but considering a lot of his other rivals right now, Proudfoot, Michelle, Gaiman, Sharp, Millet, Zier, all in the points right now, you don't want to make that deficit go away quickly if you can help it. Lap 15 coming to 16 in the books. This time by 5 laps left to go in the stage. And Bren Roberts has been dominating up front. First it was the B-Tron show. Now it's the Bren Roberts show. As it's Roberts, Ray, Sharp. Question is, obviously Ray only here for the flag. He's a part-time driver. Roberts obviously trying to extend his gap in the silver bracket with Brian Pinnell not here tonight. Hopefully the Michigan race has gone well for him. Obviously it has rained out, so hopefully he gets a good show in tomorrow. And at the same point, Pure Racing here as well. See that third groove beginning to form, and it gets a little bit interesting because first groove on that inside line, it's pretty unstacked. Then you got pretty much all the conga line in that third and second line once you get about outside the top 10. This time by Proudfoot will barely lead that lap with Roberts in tow here. And now you can see Ray get separated from Roberts. Going to jump up to the high line here. So Roberts, Sharp, and Feemster now on that low line. Ray on that high groove. He is basically sunk like a stone right in front of Zach Millet. Bit of a bad bump there between Ray and Millet. They keep it pointing in the right direction, though, as that inside line is chugging. Proudfoot is the cut driver. Michelle, obviously coming tonight, was 3 down on the cut driver, and Gaiman was also 3 down. So getting these crucial points can basically, right now at the moment, will push Pelletier Sharp outside the top 4 right now, at least at the end of stage 1. Obviously, nothing is official. Obviously, if one of those drivers ends up winning, things can change up quickly. But right now, it is good news for Proudfoot, Michelle, and Gaiman. But now you can see Braille leaning up with Roberts here along with Sharp, trying to get a late charge there on that middle groove there, or what we can call right now the high groove. And if they can get enough of a charge, don't be shocked. You see Oberstadt, Gaiman, maybe Michelle elect to jump out here and try to make a last-second lunge. This time by, we'll have 2 laps to go in stage number 1. Caution were to come out, it would most likely end the stage, so keep that in the back of your mind. Keeping an eye on that middle groove right now with Jeremy Braille. It's getting some steam here. It's going to try to jump up to help Mongold here, but that's going to get him split by Roberts. This is hurting that outside line. It's basically Braille and McMongold not going to have any help here, as they're going to fall back in the third groove. Obviously, the other 2 B-Tron cars are on that low groove right now with Adams. John Hagan has lost touch with the draft along with a few other cars like Sears and Delayla, as you can see them back there. So Hagan not going to get any stage points here, electing just to ride safe here, maybe putting his eggs in the Michigan basket. Oh, Millet almost got hooked by Feather Place there, as they are pushing hard back there in the second groove there, as they are trying to make this a race for the flag here. This outside line moves on, though. Up front, it is still Proudfoot, as we are going to see the white flag in the stage this time by Out to the line now, gotten that momentum with Roberts, Millet, and Proudfoot pushing to try to get a clear here. Braille going to try to go make a third line happen here. We'll see if he can take any prisoners with him. Roberts right now at moment clear. Will he stay with Millet or will he elect to go down? Right now we'll stay lockstep right now as they will push in that middle groove. Braille's got some help from Sharp, but it's only 4 cars on this high side while it's about 8, 9 cars deep on that low groove as they head through 3 and 4 right now. Roberts, Millet going to go low up with Feather Place. They're going to clear here at the moment. They're going to get a good charge on Roberts. Millet, Feather Place, going to be on that low groove right now as they're going to make the run through the tri-oval. Millet, Roberts, side by side. Can anyone else make a run here? As they come through the tri-oval here, it's going to be a photo finish between the two of them. Millet, Roberts. Roberts will win stage number 1. Millet will end up getting third, it looks like. Possibly even a little bit third or second. We'll wait for them to cycle through here and get charged down. But a clean stage number 1. But one thing worth noting, Bren Roberts will win stage 1. Wanzing will come presumably home in second here, as I don't think Milton's gotten around yet. We'll confirm in a second here. Let's wait for the rest of the cars to cycle through. But at the moment, drivers not getting stage points. John Hagan, he didn't get any stage points. Pelletier Sharp, she didn't get any stage points. Zach Millet ended up getting 8 stage points, as he's got third in the stage. Gaiman ended up getting 7 stage points. Brandon Featherplace got 6. And as we work our way down here through the top 10, see it flash on the screen. One more lap around before we get through pit stops here. So in that stage, Roberts takes the win with Wanzing in second, Millet in third, Gaiman 4th, Featherplace 5th, Zier 6th, Proudfoot 7th, Michelle 8th, Braille 9th, and Patrick Oberstadt rounds out the top 10. So they get caught up to the pace car here, presumably going to pit this time by. As we can confirm one thing right now as they officially run, even though we'll do these tallies throughout tonight and Michigan next week, give you kind of a rough idea where everyone is at the moment. Millet takes over the points lead after stage 1, but it doesn't mean much considering things can change on a dime. Other than that, some other notables right now. Sharp obviously falls outside the top 4. We're getting 0 stage points. Proudfoot keeps himself above the cut line. And we got basically a tie between Proudfoot and Gaiman right now as they're dead heated right now with the last driver in on stage points. So right now, if my math is correct, it is Millet, Hagan, Proudfoot, Gaiman, your top 4 in. But obviously, it's only stage number 1, so let's not count those chickens before they hatch. Pit lane going to be a crowded place here. A lot of cars are going to elect to come on in, pretty much the whole field. James Kirk probably going to be the only car electing to stay out to get one of his laps back here. He's currently 12 down, so it's going to need a lot of chaos if he wants to get back on the lead lap here tonight. We'll go to Jonathan Adams here as he will have the first pit stall here. Obviously, he will not be the first car to get through, as obviously the one downside is right there. You can see his drivers file in and file out. Question is, with strategy, who's going to roll the dice? You can already see one driver electing to roll the dice, Mongold, but I don't think Mongold hit his box. Outside of that, it's going to be Millet, Wanzing, Zier, the next 3 to file off, with George, Proudfoot, Braille, Oberstadt, Sharp, Gaiman, Featherplace, Feemster, Adams, the next ones that file off in that order. But I think Austin Mongold did miss his box. I do not have a pit time for him. And we'll see real fast if we'll take a rewind here as we wait for the drivers to get cycled up. As you can see, also James Kirk gets a little bit spun there, so we'll take a look at that too in just a second. But you can see right here, we're following Mongold here. Tries to slide in his box in his Caterpillar machine. Yeah, he just misses it. Like, he's not even close to where his box is. So he just has to, he already passed it. He has to come back around. Maybe just didn't hear a spotter. Luckily, doesn't get anyone else. He'll continue on. That one more thing I do want to look at is James Kerr here. Yeah, he just stopped for the pace car here and then ended up spinning it out. Obviously, going from about 160 to 20 can sometimes kick cars out, so he will end up kind of looping it there. But will be in position still to get at least one of his more of his laps back. So presumably after this pit stop window, we're going to see Mongold come down here this time by will relinquish the lead now to get service. And that will promote Millet to the lead as he elected to take 2 tires along with most of the field. Featherplace Gaiman elected to go 4 right Baxter, Lawrence, but most of the field electing to go with 2 tires only, or even possibly fuel only. So most drivers going for track position over tires this early on in this race. And you can see right now Mongol will go down, so that will inherit the lead to Millet. Fewer cars likely to come in. Proudfoot going to come in a second time here. Obviously, a bit of a bad angle. There you go. James Wright, Donald Ray, Tom Steers, John Hagan, Daniel Michelle, all playoff drivers. Well, some playoff drivers. Some of the other drivers listed were not playoff drivers. All electing to come in here for a little bit of an extra top off here, or at the very least coming off sequence to maybe avoid some chaos. So overall, interesting call here. We'll see maybe if it's fuel only. Michelle missed his box by at least a couple of boxes. We'll see if it's going to be 4 tires and fuel or just a top off. And I would assume it's going to be a top off here. Still a long clock here for Michelle. Yeah, look, odd. Still holding on his time here. Very odd situation. Maybe he got a penalty for something that we're not sure of, but 26, 27 seconds here. He didn't get any major damage, so as the rest of the cars file away, we're going to cut back up to the lead. His lights are now officially, I believe, out on the pace car. They are. So it's going to be Millet, Wanzing, row 1, Zier, Alfred George, row 2, Braille, Oberstadt, row 3, Featherplace, Sharp, row 4, Gavin Feemster, your first 5 rows here. Tony Damichel's now officially left his box. You'll see him right there getting caught up along with Bren Roberts. So interesting long stops there for the both of them as they're going to come back in. So his pace car going to pull on off here. It's going to be on Zach Millet's control when they enter the restart zone here. Green flag is out, and away we go for the second stage. So as they come through the last travel here, Zach Millet is going to take off where he led at the beginning of stage 1, leading the first lap. He will lead the first lap of stage number 2. Maybe hope to get a little different result, though. Zier, Braille, Sharp, Gam in your top 5. Maybe a bit calmer than the first stage. As you can see, Lawrence and Featherplay stuck on that high side. One Gearcats car and one B-Tron car, kind of splitting that difference. And you can see also Stefan Oberstadt, Patrick Oberstadt, I should say. Stefan's a little bit further back there with the number 3. Patrick currently with Featherplace and Hagen all in the high groove. Trying to make that second and third line go here as they're a little bit further back in the pack. As they charge on. Almost a bad bump there by Oberstadt almost a bad bump by Featherplace and Oberstadt there. But up front is still the Hagen Millet Zier show. As they push on here. Again, it takes opportunity for everyone tuning in. Thank you for joining us here on ABN Studios. My name is Kevin Young, and you're currently right now on lap 2 of the second stage of the Sweet Home Alabama 250 here for the A² Midwest Barbecue Cup Series. 2 rounds to go before the 2 weeks to go before we crown a champion in Homestead. And we're in the round of 8 right now. Cutoff race next week at Michigan, so make sure you tune in for that. Obviously, it'd be worth noting as well, last time these drivers ended up coming to Talladega to open up the little history book here, it was back in April. And I believe, if I remember correctly, trying to call who ended up winning that race. I think it was Millet, but I'll take a quick check on that just to confirm, as we see right now, speaking of that 31 car leading the way. Yep, it was Zach Millet that won that Talladega race. Back-to-back wins for him at Talladega, Texas when he came in, and then took the win at Dega that week, which ended up having 3 green-white checkered attempts. Middle group now forming up here. Alfred George, name you haven't said much about here tonight, currently on that middle groove with Ross Baxter helping out on that outside line here. So we're right on board here with the number 6 machine. Last time we were at a plate track, he ended up finishing 3rd. Did not give him good enough to get him into the playoffs, but still looking to keep this rookie season going well for him at Line Power and should get some good points for Line Power in the Constructors. And also help out in the Silver Bracket Challenge as well. Third group now forming as well. Roberts and Michelle going to be that third group. Both drivers that came in and topped off. Baxter going to jump in front of that line. Not feel confident behind Alfred George. Now Proudfoot will team up with George, former teammates last season at Presidential, will now take that middle groove along with Adams and Stefan Oberstadt. So that third line, that very high line right now, has the numbers to try to make a charge here. They'll be led by Baxter, but it's still Millet in tow right now, with Zier behind, but now you can see Baxter chugging towards the front here. Baxter will lead that lap that time by to head off into 1. Roberts trying to keep that domination going. Should be worth noting, stage does end at lap 45. So only 16 laps to go in stage number 2 here. How they've been racing, those will tick by like it's nothing. The drivers will have to be wary in that move. That inside line has been pretty much dissipated. As you can see, all the major players on that low groove have ditched it for the high line. Zier, Braille, and Sharp will be the only cars pinned on that low side. But look at that. Michelle kind of gets left at the altar. Going to come low. Hagen going to jump through as well, right in front of the 89 machine of Lilacs here. 18 is behind this line a little bit. So Michelle, a little bit of a mutiny. They were kind of riding around there. They elected to jump low here. So Baxter going to cover it off, though. But Michelle and Hagen want to be leaders of a line, or at least be closer to the front. One lap car they're about to possibly catch here in a second, just for track map updates. That's the 23 at Tommy Withers you saw for a flash. Only car that has lost draft at the moment. James Kerr, the other car that's currently 12 laps down. Selena Thompson did not take the flag here tonight. Look at that. Baxter really pinching that low line. Cars will have to be careful, as there is a double yellow line rule in effect, similar to real NASCAR. So if the driver does go below the yellow line to make a move, they can face a penalty and negation of spots. Lap 32 in the books. Baxter will lead that lap. But now, again, a little bit of a mutiny on the high side. Oberstadt, Adams, they'll take the middle groove here. High line will be led by Roberts in Feather Place. Roberts going to take the middle groove here, maybe hoping 34 would go down. He will not. He'll stay with Tom Sears. Obviously, you'll stay with your teammate when you can, and that's going to cause Line Power to lead both lines here. One led by Ross Baxter, the other led by Brandon Featherplace. And this is what I'm talking about. Having teammates in the final 8 can be very helpful here. As mission statement maybe for Sears and Baxter, obviously you want to win the race for your own glory, but you also want to make sure you can maximize the points for both that 32 and that 25 machine. And also in turn help your constructors battles as well and grab that gold. Delela going to get split by Gaiman. Gaiman going to put Delela in the sucker hole. He'll have to fall back to Roberts. But it's Ross Baxter still leading the way on that low groove. Featherplace occupying the high groove, and this is what B-Tron did to a T in these plate races, as Hagen going to jump out of Michelle, and seeing what I was about to talk about. You don't want to cause complacency, as Proudfoot clips right there. Mark Delela gives him a little bit of a shove. We're going to cut back to that for a second to make sure nothing else happens. as they've gotten it settled out. Almost a bit of a bad move, could have hooked someone. But to kind of go to my point, you want to box out the lines. You want to make it so if you want to make a move, you're going to have to partner up with a line power car. And that's what they were trying to do. But right now, Hagen going to be aggressive and try to block out line power's domination in those two lanes and make it so it's a bit of an open toll for other cars to make moves. But in turn, that is really checked up that high line, is now they're having a bit of a civil war between the middle and the high line right now, allowing the low line to prosper. Brought up a good note as well through the chat. Some drivers have made some big moves here early on this race. Proudfoot, for instance, up a lot of spots from 20th to 8th. Dan Michel, he started 17th, 18th, I should say, is now up, actually 17th, up now to 2nd. So he's up a gain of 15 spots. Ross Baxter up 11. Bren Roberts up 19. Jeremy Braille up 17 spots. So some of these drivers really moving towards the front here and doing it quickly. But this is a track we can do it as they'll work around Tommy Withers. He will now go 2 laps down. So I have to try to latch onto the back of this pack here. And if you comment in chat, I will definitely read them. So make sure you send your message in the chat. If you got anything important to say or anything you want to highlight, you may end up working on the broadcast. But right now, it's back to Michelle's here on the low groove. And then on the high groove, it is going to be led by the 81, 34, 14. So 2 line power cars and 1 B-Tron. Speaking of, we'll ride on board here in a second here with one of those cars. We'll pick up and we'll hang on to the 14 of Tom Sears. Lurking Tom. Right now he's lurking on that high groove here. Well, actually, let him take a lap around here just to give you a feel of what it's like to be on a high groove here and a bit of a sandwich. And right there you can see they want to ditch the 81. They'll go the middle groove here. So we'll stay on this shot for at least a moment here, as they're going to try to get clear. And we'll go outside the gear box just to show you right now. Hagen will jump back in line. So good move there by Line Power. Split the difference. Here comes the shove. This is the name of the game here. Make moves, send prisoners, and try to send people back as Line Power is looking to dominate the front of this race here. This time by lap 37 will be officially completed. Baxter still leading the way. Obviously looking to join the illustrious rookie class that have found victory lane so far this year. That's another little tidbit as well. In the current playoffs, 8 out of the 8 drivers in currently the final 8, 4 of them are rookies. Hagen, Millett, Sharp, and Zier. And there's a good chance all 4 could make the playoff. The final 4, I should say. They're already in the playoff, but should make the final 4. So there's a good chance that both drivers, it could be an all-rookie lockout, showing that the old dog may have to step up their game if they want to compete with the new one. High line beginning to charge here. Hagen going to team up with Donald Ray and Patrick Oberstadt. Featherplay's going to cover that off, though, with a nice move. He will take the lead away. Again, all 3 lines right now led by Line Power in some capacity. Hagen going to jump to the low side in front of Baxter. He wants to sense this lead. He wants to get back to the front. And that's a good move. He'll charge in front here. Now Featherplay's left on the high side here, which has been a little bit of a less reliable line. Bet you want to team up here and get embossed. Braille going to jump out of line here, sensing maybe a bit of catastrophe, not feeling comfortable at the moment what's going on. Doesn't want any of that squeeze, as he will now jump further back. Big gap there, 3-car breakaways. We'll see on the far shot here, 3-car breakaway. Big gap between Zier and Michelle. That's going to allow a gap here for some cars to file in if they want to. And so far, no cars have really taken that bait. As you see, he'll ride on board here with Zier. Now gap is closed up. Donald Ray will jump in along with Featherplay, as you saw in the far shot. But it's about making moves, and if you leave big holes, drivers will fill them. So you can't be complacent around Dega if you want to end up being competitive. You see other cars begin to fan out and make judgment lines and make moves. But it's still the Hagen show up front. And then it's Baxter, Michelle, Feather Place, Ray. So in that top 5 now, Zier. 3 line power cars in the top 5. Zier going to try to make that high line work here. Right now at the moment, she's all alone. She'll have some help from Seth Wanzing. After that, though, she's got a choice between going up to the high line with Proudfoot or going down to the middle groove with Sears. Ray will get jumped out, too. And Sears maybe trying to maybe not lead up with Ray. Will end up having to pick him anyway up. And now Ray will lead that line. Zier going to charge the third line here. Oh, Alfred George way off the line there. He doesn't hit anything. He'll come back up in line. But wild ride for the number 40 machine. Up front, though, Baxter sensed the move, and he will take it. Going to split John Hagen again here. As they're going to get 2 cars around here. Feather Place will not be able to do so. He'll have to jump back in line here on that low groove. But they dispose of the 81. Now that opens up the door for Lilac Zier for a chance to make something happen with the Seth Wanzing in tow. Zier, Wanzing, Proudfoot, your top 3. That low line has now lost a little bit of momentum. At the moment, notable drivers not getting stage points. Hagen, Sharp, Millett, Gaiman, but obviously things can change. You see Roberts with Ray trying to split the middle. They'll get a good run here down the backstretch. Ray, good charge here. Zier, all 3 abreast here. So go wide shot here. Wanzing going to end up splitting the difference. We'll get back close here. You can see him going to go middle groove. Going to jump in front of Ray. Former Sunday Money Racing teammates now going to take that middle groove. Now Tombstone. But up front, it is Baxter, Michelle, Feather Place. They have Rise the Storm. And now you know John Hagen. He's already done it twice. He's split up the line power cars. He knows if he gets another run here, he's definitely going to go high here. Look at that. Just like I said, Delilah jumps front of his ear, and you can see right there the 81 of Hagen also going to jump up as well. Now back to the middle groove in front of Wanzing. So not going to go super high. We're going to end up holding that middle groove. That's going to leave a big gap in that middle low line that Battles, we haven't said much about, was almost a chance to go a lap down. He is now back inside the top 10. We'll have to fill up and try to push. And this is where inexperience can definitely hurt out. Feather Place leaving a little bit of gap here to try to maybe get a good charge here. The toe back in Battles to try to give that inside line some momentum. Right up front, though, Patrick Oversight will take the lead with Hagen, but I expect Hagen may not stay in tow for long. Wanzing trying to be a superhero here. He's going to split the difference with Delilah and Michelle, and Hagen going to jump low in front of line power. Smart move. He will take the low line. 3 laps to go, as now he's the lead. Oberstadt going to have to line back up with Delilah, and that almost was a bad bump from you-know-where. HE double hockey sticks. As now is a 3-groove battle here further back. Hagen going to try to block all the lines. Goes low to high in about a matter of a half second. And he will block off Zier. Cars getting loose. Feather Place gets a little bit of contact. Other cars spinning around. Oberstadt, multiples, and it is the big one here. Multiple cars around. Oberstadt, Ray, Baxter, and that is going to end stage 1. Feemster, more fenders flying. We'll take a look in a second here what exactly happened. But you could tell it was the chaos that was shaping up to be. As we can see, if we can find a car here, you can see Ross Baxter heavily damaged. Feather Place looks fine. Tom Sears, he is heavily wounded as well in his Celtics machine. Alfred George is relatively okay. Mark DeLeo, you can see him very slow. He is pretty wounded. We'll cut to Patrick Oberstadt. You can see the damages of war from him. Austin Mongol's okay. DeLeo, you can see the scratches there. Kevin Feemster out his fender clip as well. So stage 1 in the books. We'll take a quick look at the final results for that. Then we'll take a look at the replay. John Hagen gets a crucial 10 points. Lilac Zier gets second with 9. Wanzing 8th. Proudfoot with 7 points in 4th. Adams with 5th with 6 points. Stefan Oberstadt 6th with 5 next points. Then Sharp, Gaiman, Michelle, and Battles. That will round out the top 10 for stage number 1. So now we'll take a look at what exactly happened to bring out that yellow flag. And what's weird is my battle box did not pick up any of those damages. So we'll take a look here. And we know Patrick Oberstadt was kind of the incident starter here. Whether he did it or not, it's a different story, what caused it. But I think we kind of already saw what happened there through the rewind. We're going to go for the eye in the sky here. And we're going to watch it out in slow-mo. You can already see right there. Actually, we'll rewind back just a second here. We're going to pause. Sorry, got to get the buttons right here. So we're going to play this first, and then we're going to cut back to what we saw with the 34. So we're going to play it out, pause here. You can already see the 34 get a little bit squirrely. a little bit further back. That doesn't really cause this catastrophe. They get it saved up. But then you get to the Talladega, gets a little bad bump there on the corner panel of Oberstadt. That shoots in. Wanzing checks up. And then you can see right there, Wanzing gives the hook to Talladega, and that sends Oberstadt down to Baxter. Wanzing with a good avoidance there. And then you see the rest of the cars trying to avoid in. Then you can see further back, as we'll now go to a different angle. You can see Sears gets hooked around. He gets bad bumped by Feemster. As cars begin to pile in here and just try to avoid the incident for the most part. Pile up, now we'll play at full speed. You can just see, not as big as I thought it was. We can see more cars. Millet ends up getting some damage too late on in the incident. We'll take a second look as well. This time we'll focus a little bit further back in the incident, just to preemptively here. The 34 machine of Brandon Featherplace here. You'll take a look here. That angle tells us nothing. But you'll see here, he also gets a little bit of a bad moment here too, and I kind of want to see what happened with him. So we'll pause here, and we'll go with another eye in the sky camera. Keep an eye on that 34. Yeah, just to check up on that low line. Baxter checked up Michelle, backed up Featherplace. That didn't have any effect here. He gets in the Ray, but you can see right this. They get it saved out for the most part. Featherplace is looking to lose time, and then the wreck happens up front. As cars then have to avoid incident and just try to make it through relatively unscathed. We'll take two more looks at this real fast. We'll take a look at Ross Baxter in the 60 machine here. If I can ever find him. There he is. Take a look at Ross Baxter. He's going to have a wild ride too here. There's the wreck up front, and he gets sent way low, shoots up way up the road here. And then you can see the after effects of the angle as more cars file in and just avoid out. I noticed it would take two more looks. I got two more angles here as well. We'll now look at the 21 machine of Kevin Feemster. He's going to have a good look at this too here. Then you can just see cars spinning in and out. Feemster just gets collected in, just trying to avoid it. And you can see he gets out and almost clips Featherplace there again. So Featherplace gets a good job avoiding that. And we'll take one more look at this as well. Focus on this time by with the driver that had the best avoidance of the wreck. We're going to focus on the 74, Jeremy Braille. If I ever can find him on my list. There he is. There's a lot of names. So we're going to watch Braille one time here real fast. Obviously, he won the Daytona 250. We'll take a look here earlier in the year. But he's going to have a good view of this as well. There you can see the chaos between Featherplace and the Line Power cars. There's the opposite with Oberstadt. Gets on the brakes and shows the pedigree of a champion. Doesn't send it in. Locks it up when he needs to. Doesn't hit anything. And he keeps that Smeal Racing Design machine unscatched. As you can see, the rest of the cars move through. So back to live action. Getting the one to go this time by. Most of the cars all came in. Remember, the end of Stage 2 was under that caution. So Stage 5 concluded. We are now running to the finish here, with Hagan and Adams taking the front row again. So a repeat of what we saw at the end of the beginning of this race. They will lock out the front row here. Sear Wanzing row 2, Braille Featherplace row 3, Baxter Roberts row 4, Lawrence Feemster your first 5 rows. Some notables, most of the drivers came in. Hagan took 2. Looks like Adams actually came in just to top off. Didn't even take anything for the most part. Other than that, Zier took 4, Wanzing took 4, some others took 2, but most drivers elected to take 4 on this stop. And if we go green to the finish, green flag pit stop looms for this field. One of a notable as well, out of the playoff drivers, no drivers ended up getting no points in either stage. And the only drivers that did not get stage points in the first or second, drivers that didn't get stage points in both stages were Hagan, Millet, and Sharp, and Featherplace, all getting zeros in either the first or the second stage, meaning Proudfoot, Zier, Michelle, and Gaiman maximized their opportunities and ended up getting stage points in both the first and second stage, trying to ensure a better gain here. So as the pace car gets ready to pull on off, it's going to be on John Hagan's control here as they enter the restart zone. Green flag is out, and away we go for the final stage of the Sweet Home Alabama 250 here at Talladega. As they come to the tribal here to start the final stage, or we'll start the first lap of the final stage, Hagen will lead that lap. So the two drivers, like I hinted to at the beginning of the broadcast, the most likely probably to cash their tickets into Miami over the next 2 weeks, lead all the laps to start the stages in 1 and 2. Outside of that, you can see drivers making a move. Baxter and Lawrence, they're going to jump high here, leaving the all to the low side with Zier all alone at the moment on the low side. As you can see right now, she's got about 7-8 cars deep, which is not good because you think you lead the train, but it just takes one car saying, hey, I'll take that, jump low, and next thing you know, you got to try to push to get another opportunity to make a move here. Obviously, Zier being one of those playoff drivers right now needs a good run, give herself a good cushion going into Michigan, so she doesn't have to worry as much. But right now, beginning still to sink, as that outside line is heavily more momentum, and you can just see the effects that's had, as now that inside line is pretty much dislated. As you can see, all the cars are moved. Back up front, it's basically right now from first all the way to 11th, all on that outside line trained up. The outside line begins still to dominate here. It just takes someone getting a charge here, someone saying, hey, I want to make a move to try to get towards the front here. And right now, though, it's still Hagen. Again, that Lola, you can just see. We'll cut back to that line for a second. It is pure infighting. Braille, Oberstadt, Ray just kind of fighting here. And that's not good for the greater good, the inside line. However, it just takes one driver. You'll see in this wide shot here, it just takes one driver in this high line to say, all right, I'm tired of riding in maybe 7th or 8th. I want to make a move to the front. The problem is if you try to make that move to the front and no one goes with you, you're fresh out of luck, and you're basically going to be passed like a parachute. I had a good analogy there, but I'll hold off on that as I don't want to butcher it. Up front, though, Hagen, Adams, Feather Place, your top 3. As they still ride row and toe. And it's 2 B-Tron cars, 2 Line Power cars, but I just said one car is willing to brink. Brandon Proudfoot is going to be that first one to blink, as he will now jump to the low side with the help of Braille and Oberstadt, as they're going to try to charge towards the front here. We're right on board with the Twisted Metal Machine. Zooming by up to Cheeseburger Lawrence currently in 5th, so they are chug-a-chug and choo-chooing here, but now losing some time in the straight. But right there, Line Power going to make a move. They want to free the front, and I said they want to make a move here. They have 2 Line Power cars. Millet is also going to join fray as well, as they will occupy that low side. So good move overall there by Feather Place and Baxter, sensing the temperature in the air. Wanted to make sure they got towards the front, and they will try to do so here, as it will be 2 by 2 here. That time by Hagen will lead that lap. But Feather Place is coming on that low line. Then also worth noting as well, look at that next line back. You got 2 Gear Cats cars with Lawrence and Gaiman. They could easily split and try to make a third line work, but the problem is, will they have anyone go with them if they did that? Right now, sometimes it's better just to ride rather than trying to push the issue. Inside line losing some momentum now. Feather Place and Baxter beginning to fall back a little bit on the low side. Hagen, will he stay loyal with Adams, his teammate, or will he try to block both lanes and lock it out for B-Tron? Right now, he's still kind of a will they, won't they idea right now. And again, with that inside line losing momentum quickly, I don't know yet if he's thinking about it. Feels confident where he is. So the move for Line Power didn't overly work the greatest. They are now falling back here as more cars now jump out. That's a dog-eat-dog world. They sense your line's not working. Some cars will pull away from it just to try to make something happen. But they got some heavy hitters on that low line. Proudfoot, Baxter, Millet, Proudfoot, 3 out of 4 of those are playoff drivers. And then you got Sharp there, another car back. So half the field on that low line at the moment inside the top 10. The other half right now in the moment on the high side in the top 10. Only driver not in the playoffs right now inside the top 15 is Lilac Sear, currently sitting in 20th in her purple and white machine. Ooh, Bax trying what he can do to push here. Again, we're still kind of in the moment of the race right now where drivers will kind of leave you a little bit of space here if you let them. They won't always be overly aggressive trying to push on a point or try to basically wreck you if they need to. But we're going to get to a point where it's going to come gloves off. You see Hagen trying to now maybe tempt the fate here, trying to see where his car runs best. But kind of finish my point as I know a segue there for a second. Drivers know the opportunity comes and goes, and they know they got to be willing to make moves and so on and so forth. And when you get to 10 to go, 5 to go, a move that you may be able to pull off with 25 to go, where the driver will cut you some slack, may end up getting you hooked into the fence if you're not careful. Hagen going to still play conservatively here. If a run were to come, maybe try to toe that inside line up a little bit just to give himself some options or change the lines here. Gaiman, you can see, getting a little bit antsy as well. Just trying to aggressively side draft. Top four still running strong on that middle groove here. Again, if we do stay green, a green flag pit stop does move for this field. Knowing the tank field take about 25 laps. These drivers last pit on 44. Safe to assume you can probably get to about lap 70 before you see drivers electing to pull off here. So we're still a little bit of ways away, but that does at least sit on the horizon for some of these drivers, knowing they may have to have that element of strategy in it, and it could be make or break. Knowing how pit stops can be tricky around Talladega, Daytona, plate tracks, where you have to be on the button, be as aggressive as you dare, but not speed. It could be also crucial for some of these drivers in their playoff hopes if they can make sure they hit that moment if we do get a green flag pit stop. As we watch the action here, we'll take a quick wrap around here just to kind of show where every playoff driver is at the moment here. So we'll start off John Hagen. You can see obviously right now sitting in first position on that high groove here. You can see right there that we'll hold off that as Feather Place, the other playoff driver, gets a good run on the low groove here as they are going to charge up here. Big checkup, though, between Gagum and Lawrence. Gearcats ends up getting checked in that middle groove here. So we'll have to hold off on that wraparound, how the tides can turn on a dime. Now Feather Place leads the way with Baxter, Millet, Proudfoot, and Beamster, your top 5. And for some of these drivers, they have yet to find victory lane this season. For others, they have yet to find victory in their A-squared careers. And you know, for some of them, it eats away at them a little bit, knowing they want to try to find that all-inclusive first victory. Or you can get back to victory lane after a long drought. It sits on the minds. Anyways, we now see a bit of an action. You can see right there the other playoff drivers. Zach Millet, currently second highest of playoff drivers, just ahead of Ross Baxter in second. Brandon Proudfoot right there in fourth. And you got Beamster, Oversat, Withers obviously a couple down, so he's not battling for spot there. There's John Hagen, currently sitting in 8th. Josh Gaiman got checked up there in the middle groove, gets deconnected from Cheeseburger Lawrence. He's now in 13th. Peltier Sharp right there in 15th, just behind. Daniel Michelle sitting in 19th. Lilac Sear on the low line in 18th. And that's how the top 8 run right now in the playoffs, in the field right now. Feather Place and Line Power really taking it on to B-Tron, as B-Tron has dominated almost every plate race it's been here so far this year, and have put themselves in contention to win at every track. As you can see, Feemster sends a move. You don't usually can do that. Feemster tried to cover off the Choo Choo Express there of Stefan Overstat, and that doesn't usually pay off quite well, as he will fall to the back. And we will take a quick look at that again, as that was almost Calamity Corner there. As you're just going to see it here real fast as we play it out live here. You can see Feimster gets shoved by Withers right up into there. That almost checks him up right into Oberstadt. And you're going to see the drivers have to fan out here. So almost a big wreck there. And that's not going to give Withers some major friends here as he's battling to get back on the lead lap. As right now he's only one down at the moment. But if he can get around here and compete up, he can get himself back on the lead lap and not even take the lucky dog. It's about risk versus reward right now for that 23. But you don't make friends like that even if it's accidental. Oberstadt going to jump low here in front of Feather Place, and that's going to allow Hagen back up to the point here on the high side with now Gaiman in tow. It is B-Tron on that outside line 1, 3, and 4 right now. And if you remember from last year, Gaiman was also a B-Tron driver as well. So B-Tron linked up on that high groove right now, trying to relive old memories. Gaiman will go low. I don't think that may have been the smartest choice, as now B-Tron has occupied the top 3 with Hagen, Mongold, and Brault all on that high side. Adams, you can all see right there with Sears, and they will all jump low, so they will jump in front of Gaiman here, now leaving other cars battling in the middle and high grooves. Sharp, Feimster, and Delayla on that second groove, and then you got Adams and Sears on the third one. Speaking of, they are likely to catch another lap car down here, and you'll see it on the map here as well. It's going to be the 71 of Josh Battles. They'll catch him probably within a lap or two here. Again, would be the only other car going one down and would be in a battle. It looks like something's happened to the 33 of Markowski. Looks like it is a scheduled stop possibly for him. He is in, which is odd. He came in alone. So keep an eye on him now and see how long his stop is. Maybe something overheated, maybe something broke. But he is now officially in this time by, as he is now taking service. See, Battle's just saying, I'm on the high side here. I'll stay high to the wall. You guys go around me, guys and gals, whatever you want to say. Go in the middle and low groove. Mongold gets a little bit of a bad bump there. And again, a little bit downside of this camera package coming out of the half corners there. Sometimes you get a little bit blocked by the wall. Mongold trying to push low here. I see the rest of the field navigate around Oberstadt. This is going to really hurt Adams, but he'll jump in and avoid out. This time by will focus on Josh Gaiman, right on board with the 61 machine. Obviously was the pole sitter for the Daytona 250 many months ago, back in February. Oh, how the season flies. As he's looking to be the first playoff driver to punch his ticket for the Final Four and be one of only 2 drivers that can say he's ran in back-to-back Final Fours. Well, other drivers have done it in other seasons, but in between 2023 and 2024. But still a long time before we can see that happen. Oberstadt, Adams, currently on that high groove right now, pushing onward. They've got relinked with the Layla. Only 3 playoff drivers inside the top 10 at the moment. Hagen, Gaiman, and Sharp. The others right now all outside the top 10. Markowski's still on pit lane for a long time here, so it was an unscheduled stop for the 33, just for the Markowski fans at home. Not 100% what it is, but he has been on pit lane for about a minute and a half right now, as it looks like it may be day done for him. Oberstadt getting a charge here with Adams. They charge forward. And still the John Hagen show up front, and it's B-Tron on that low line, 1, 2, 3, 4. But here comes Stefan Oberstadt for Carolina Beagle. He's got a B-Tron car behind him, and then Mark DeLayla, an independent car, in that second line. And at least Josh Gaiman gets some reprieve with Gearcats' Michael Lawrence there. Oberstadt will jump to the front. He will lead that lap in that white number 3, as he will take lap 65 for himself. Oh, look at that. Almost a bad jump there by Wright. He jumped in that number 13 in that hole, and it almost ended up in tears. James Wright, again, a driver we haven't said much about tonight. Up 13 spots right now, as he's just trying to get some good experience here, run his car well, obviously to a point where we still haven't been able to put a name in that little box yet. So write your own little stats in there about James Wright, but that is currently sitting in the spot right there as he is riding out. Back up front, though, Delela going to get a good charge with Lawrence, Withers, and Gaiman. And that's going to be Delela leading that lap. But now Lawrence, he's had a bit of an iffy season. He wants to show why he maybe deserves to get redrafted next year. He will take the point in this race. Withers, obviously, again, not battling for position here. He is a lap down. He's battling battles for the lucky dog. Right now, Battles maybe rooting for Withers to unlap himself here, so he would basically be on sole contention of the lucky dog if it opens up. Right there, you can see Withers. He's going to try to go in the high groove here. Usually, drivers kind of frown upon lap cars making bodacious moves like this, but Withers is a seasoned pro. Only 3 cars, though, on the high line. It's Delela, Withers, Delela, and Sharp. And I don't think it's going to work out quite well here unless they get some extra cavalry here. Is that inside line of the Gear Cats inside line working? But Sharp is also aligned with Gear Cats, is a teammate. So Sharp maybe going to try to find a hole in or do something to help out the crew here. Again, will Withers jump down here, stay loyal to the high side, and lay his bed? Speaking of, like I said, green flag pit stops do loom for this field. Sharp trying to maybe get clear here to find a hole. And that's why I think most of the field is down low here, as I sense green flag pit stops happening in a lap or two. Withers, Delela, they're going to go around here. I think we're going to go to the wide shot here. Keep an eye on pit lane. I think it's going to become a crowded place here. We'll see if anyone pulls off this time by. And no one will, but you know when they get to that low line like that, they are signifying that it is time to come in this lap or next. And you can see even major separation as Brent Roberts right now just really losing touch to this top 6 here. Presidential Racing driver just trying to find a way forward. Gaiman will jump low. Withers will be pinned high here. As now the Presidential Racing machine of Roberts going to get slowly caught back up here. But pit stops, again, loom for this field. You can make it comfortably at lap 70, so let's see when and if it occurs. Withers will jump in. Keep an eye on the left of your screen again. We'll see if anyone elects to come in this time by. Top 4 is Delela, Sharp, Lawrence, Gaiman. We'll go wide shot again. And now we do see pit stops. Good chunk of the field in this time by. You can see them all coming in. Braille, B-Tron, Hagen, Oberstadt. It's a B-Tron party down pit lane, as most of these cars are aligned with B-Tron or Carolina Beagle, as they are all in on this lap. So it's a Carolina Beagle B-Tron party. Fords and Chevys hit the boxes, and they will be the first of the major crew to pit. Back up front, you can see a bit of separation. This may not be good. 5-6 cars broken away from another pack of 6 cars. Feemster leads a train, and this separation could hurt them if we stay under green flag pit stops. This led by Feemster, Featherplace, Baxter. They're going to have to get going, or they're going to have to close that quickly. Coming around here again, will the top 6 pull off? They are in this time by. Gear Cats along with the rest, and you can see further back as well. Most of the field coming in. Wanzing, Zier, and Sharp staying out. Odd pairing here as the rest of the cars begin to slow down here. Make sure nothing major has happened on pit lane. Everyone has hit their box successfully. Worth noting, no cars got busted for speeding under the first cycle of lines action. So anyway, we're going to cut to John Hagen here. Favorite part of the broadcast is the watch. We'll put the track map on. We'll keep an eye on John Hagen here. He currently leads the train of the drivers that first pitted with 25 to go. We'll see where he can blend out here in relation with the first pack and the second pack. Gaiman just left his box along with Delela and Sharp, and you're going to see this separation here. This is the second pack that was the Featherplace Feemster pack, and you can see the time lost. Featherplace, I think, took 4 tires. He's going to lose even more time, hand over fist. Then you can see right there, there's Michelle. There's Feemster. As, by the way, the top 3 have also come in with Sears, Wanzing, and Zier. We'll cut to them in a second. But you can see right now Hagen going to merge in right around Zach Millett case. And you can see those Sharp going to keep the lead, at least for the short term here. But look how much of a rope Gaiman and Delela have gotten ahead of the rest of the pack here. The good news is most of the pack didn't get overly separated. But you can see right now, if you're a driver like James Wright, Austin Mongold, among others, you have lost a lot of time in comparison to the other cars. Even Brandon Featherplace right now, who's basically going to have to hope to get a tow rope out to make something happen. Gaiman and Delela back in again here. Must have got a penalty for something. That is heavy implications. Both cars came in for service. And now they are in again here. Take a look here in a second. We'll keep an eye on the screen. Obviously, you can see the pit lane. Yeah, it is a drive-through for both. So they got a penalty for something. We'll see if we can get clarification on it. Back up front, though, you can see Zier, Wanzing, and Sharp all merging. Zier going to get at least to the tail end of this pack. Wanzing and Sears probably going to get enough to get the tow rope out. And this is the stretchy time of the broadcast where you're right now, Seth Wanzing. You know if you lose Lilac Zier right now, you're basically fighting for what could be outside the top 10 battle. But you can see Wanzing just going to get the tow rope out. It's going to try to hang on to Zier and try to make something happen here. But yeah, we'll see again if we can get any clarification of what happened to Gaiman and Delela. Obviously, if I had a co-commentator, they could probably relay the information, but obviously I'm here alone tonight. Can't hear the radio broadcast. So possibly a penalty for both the 61 and the 80. Maybe a blend violation. Maybe they sped in the pit lane, but that would have been a hold that they sped. Regardless, they had to serve a drive-through, and now they are going to need a caution if they want to get back on this thing. Heavy implication for that 61, though, who, unless he gets a caution, could be in a must-win next week at Michigan. Up front, though, right now, looks at the moment the top 18 all in a pack, and another driver that's probably going to need a little help from a caution, Brandon Featherplace. You can see right now how much of a gap it is that he is currently at the moment away from that first pack. He's got Donald Ray up the road. Maybe he can find a tow rope here. Was the only driver to take 4 tires where everyone else took 2, and you can see the implication that's had as he's going to try to get reeled back up. We'll keep an eye on it. Up front, Feemster leads the way. Tommy Withers, remember, not on the lead lap. He is a lap down as we speak. And they have pulled out a healthy gap to Bren Roberts and Michael Lawrence. This could be interesting to see how this plays out. But right now, they are still chugging along, gap of 1.66. And the weird thing is, it is growing right now. That is growing. It's 1.83. And you can sense the desperation as they are pulling away. Look at that gap. Feemster got to check to see if that thing has a legal engine in it. He is pulling away in a 2-car tandem. It's to the point where Sharp is beginning to fall back a little bit as well. 21 laps to go. Kevin Feemster, he is leading this thing by a healthy margin. They're getting racy back here. Hagen, he wants to charge to the front. He feels like he's got something. He'll jump low. Maybe there's some fuel saving here possibly in this pack. Wanzing will jump low as well. Gap is now 2 seconds. It's now falling. So maybe they got out a little bit too ahead. Maybe Roberts was saving a little bit, but that gap was you don't see 3 cars break away from a pack like that very often. For the Brandon Featherplace fans at home, he has recaught the pack along with Donald Ray, so they have regrouped, meaning 21 cars, I should say, are on our screen right now with still a chance to win this thing. Right now, Gaiman, Withers, and Delela would all need a caution to get back in contention along with Josh Battles. But up front, it's still Feemster, Sharp, and Feemster and Sharp. Obviously, Withers not contention, but now Hagen is reeling in the back of Sharp. So I think Roberts may be trying to save something here, possibly. Is there possible fuel concerns here? As he is getting to lose a little bit of touch this next pack. Hagen and Oberst have now caught the back of Sharp, and it is now race on. No major separations. Oh, Hagen tried to go up in front of Ray. Donald Ray trying to get a charge here. This is the part I love about plate racing. You can see Ray, he's going to lead to the point of the front here, and he's going to try to jump in front of Withers. New leader, even though he passed Feemster, it is Ray and Featherplace, who, remember, a couple laps ago, they were 5 seconds back of our race lead, and they have now taken the lead of this race. Ray, Featherplace, Zier, your top 3. Alfred George sitting in 4th at the moment. 19 laps to go. It is still game on here as the action is proving to be a fierce one up front. You can see it right now playing in factor as you can see Featherplace and Ray both leading the way with Zier in 3rd. Again, Donald Ray, a part-time entry only here for the fun of it. Would be a special story if he could win it, but you know he got 2 hungry playoff drivers behind. that if they could find their way to victory lane, would be good to go for Homestead and not have to worry about next week at Michigan. 18 laps to go. Inside line, pretty much all nose to tail. Tom Sears, you can see in the far shot, only car trying to make a second line work here. So as the battle rages on, and it's still concluding right now, you see action playing a treat right now. So as it rages and the battle continues on here, you can see Sears kicking out up front. It is still the Donald Ray show. So as it goes and continues and it pushes and it prods, when will someone be willing to make a move? Proudfoot has to take service here. Very odd situation for the 22. He is actually hitting his box here. Implications major for the playoffs. He is in, and he had a torn front end. He elected to get that fixed, and it looks like he's taking some service too. So he could have major implications as well with that damage he received. He will also be in the drivers needing a caution. They want to get back in this thing. $16 laps to go. It is Ray, Feather Place, Zier, George, and Michelle, your top 5. It's like a game of possum here. Just checking the audio levels one more time. Do not want to make sure anything major happens here that I miss. But I want to make sure technical difficulties are also cleared out. Right now, Ray, Feather Place here, George. I know I repeated myself, but I got to get myself back in the snap count here. You can see it's all single file for the most part. But again, Proudfoot had to take service. Unscheduled service. We'll see if anything major happened, but he came down pretty much on his little lonesome. Maybe he got a meatball or a repair flag, a necessary repair flag, and he had to come in. And this is where it gets interesting. Look how spaced out it is from this far shot here. Top 3, top 5 kind of broken away a little bit. Let's just look at these gaps here for a second. Yeah, I see him getting a little bit of space back up there, so maybe a little bit too soon, but just look at this. Sears, Wanzing, thinking about making a move on that high groove. Just outside the top 10. Wanzing and Sears were both eliminated last week from the playoffs. Wanzing obviously been dealing with some technical difficulties, knows he's a driver that can win along with Sears. And you know they've been knocking on the door. They're going to get the charge forward. Again, is this a case of fuel saving? Actually, there's one good way to figure this out right now as they now take the lead here. Let's go on board with some of these cars here and see what's going on inside the cockpit. Keep an eye on their throttles and keep an eye on their speeds. They're running 200. Then you got Brandon Featherplace here running about, currently at the moment, 187, 186, so running about in speed. Then you got Mongold and Zillet here running 190, so everyone running about the same speeds here. But it would not shock me. Some cars are electing to pull off the throttle here. Let's keep an eye on Zach Millett here. We saw how quickly to the front they made moves. Does Millett have something like a tow rope or something? Our car's trying to save to hit a magical number here. Robert's also going to jump as well, so we'll keep an eye on those cars in a minute here as we cut back up towards the front. 14, now coming to 13 laps to go. It's team president of Line Power, Tom Sears, team president of Tombstone in the A-Square Cup Series, and former Sunderman Racing team owner, Seth Wanzing. Donald Ray, Brandon Febbe. Look at Millen, Rob. I said keep an eye on them. I think there's fuel saving right now. I think we've come to that conclusion. They are lifting and they are coasting, and it's just about making moves to get to the front. Millett, Roberts, Lawrence, all going to jump in front here. So I think we've kind of figured out the proof to the pudding here. Not enough fuel, possibly. They have to save some fuel to make it to the line. And you saw drivers just checking up the train. That allowed Feemster to pull away, and now you can see other cars pulling away. It's almost like we remember back in the day with the two-car tangos. One car would jump ahead and push ahead the other one and then get distance, and another one would come away and do the same thing. 12 laps to go. Watching live in the chat, thank you for everyone tuning in. Shoot out some predictions of who you think is going to end up taking the checkered flag here. I think it's still anyone's game here inside this major pack here. I'll also throw out a bet as well. Tell me if you think this thing will stay green to the finish. Right now, I like the odds, but you know when chips come down, just takes one bad bump, and next thing you know, we're looking at catastrophe moments. And for some, like again, Proudfoot, Gaiman at the moment, they're currently on the front stretch of the tri-oval. They need to get a caution here, or they could be hemorrhaging points. Millet going to lead this lap with 11 laps to go. Outside line led by Ross Baxter and John Hagan, as they are the trio on that line. Roberts trying to cement himself as the silver bracket champion, even though technically he wouldn't lock anything up tonight. Getting a win would basically put himself in a hard, touchable distance for the other field to catch. Ross Baxter along with Hagan, they will charge up here on the high side. Few cars checking out. Sharp, you can see on the shop, going to check out here. But Baxter, Hagan, they're going to try to get clear here. And Baxter, you know, has some pride from Talladega, Daytona a couple weeks ago. Before the playoffs started, you know that almost win hangs on his mind. It's been a long season for the driver that started on the pole for the Daytona 250. You know he wants to at least get a win here before the season concludes. It's kind of funny to note out of the line power cars, I don't think any of them gotten wins yet. Proudfoot hasn't won. Sears hasn't won. I'm sorry, Feather Place hasn't won. Proudfoot drives for another team. I don't think either of them have found victory lane yet. Correct me if I'm wrong. They've just been overly consistent, but have not found the victory lane. 10 laps to go. Braille going to jump low right behind Patrick Oberstadt. Baxter still is the way they both will clear. Again, Braille has kind of signified this is going to be his last full-time competition season in the A-Squared Cup Series. Was eliminated last week, but you know a win would at least smooth those blues. Baxter, Sears on that high line. Withers still hoping for a caution. He's on that high third line as well. Coming to 9 laps to go. What's the state of fuel here? Cars have picked up their pace a lot here, up about 5 mph. There's James Wright. He had to come down for service as he will go a lap down here. Cars now getting racy. 2 line power cars in the middle. The only 2 Toyota teams, Gearcats and Line Power, trying to work together here. Maybe hoping the Celtic luck brings Sears some luck, is that they are now sinking further back. Inside line trying to charge out here. Braille, Oberstadt starting to pull away from third place John Hagan. Withers going to get a good charge here with Lawrence in tow. This time by will be 8 laps to go, and Oberstadt using Withers to his advantage. He will jump low. Sears will follow suit. Ross Baxter will be the odd man out as he will fall tow. Seth Wansing, though, trying whatever he can. You know Wansing is a driver that's willing to make alt lanes work, and he'll jump back in line knowing it's a lost cause, will at least gain a spot. Only 2 playoff drivers right now inside the top 10. That's Hagan and Millet. Everyone else is currently in the playoffs. It's 12th on back. And we know Proudfoot and Gaiman are both off the touch here, about half a lap back. Look in the chat right now. It's hit 7 to go. Some drivers thinking aggression's coming. It ain't going to stay green. Feather Place may have something up his sleeve. We're hearing a lot of things, and the one person asking who's in the Mountain of the Year's car, that is Ross Baxter. 7 laps to go. Lawrence will lead that lap. Help using Withers in tow with Sears in line. DeLayla also going to be another lap car joining the fray here in that Vavely machine, but most cars will work their way around him. But like Withers, he could be in a utility pick here to help save some fuel, or at the very least make it comfortably. Hagan, Millet, they're also working as well. You can see them jump in line. This time by, we'll have 6 laps to go when they come off the tri-oval to the stripe. And you can just see it is single file. No one is ready to make a move quite yet. The question is, who will blink first? Because you know they ain't comfortable riding like this. 6 laps to go. Meanwhile, another fun fact, if Lawrence can hold, it would be kind of shocking to say that the only Gearcats car, full-time Gearcats car drafted that didn't find victory lane yet this season, if Lawrence holds on, is Josh Gaiman. Oberstadt getting a little bit antsy. You can see it. Right on board with the 41. Thinking about maybe making a move here. He's lined with Carolina Beagle, but you can see right now he's got no real support. He does have Beatron, and Carolina Beagle do have a little bit of somewhat of a friendship, I would say. At least from what I've seen through HCL. Maybe they'll work together if chips come down. 5 laps to go. It is still Lawrence and Sears pulling away a little bit from Oberstadt. Is Tommy Withers going to be the friend in need for Lawrence? Wanzing, he's ready to make a move. Gonna go high side here. Gonna try to go around Braille. Can he find any help here? In his Powerade machine, you can see Stefan Oberstadt as well thinking about doing something here. But no assistance coming. Bren Roberts also on that high line as well, trying to give some assistance. Will help come? Will the cavalry come? Wanzing, Oberstadt going to be side by side here. This is the battle for third. Roberts is going to come here and give some help. Zier and Oberstadt, and look at Hagen. He senses a move coming. We're focusing on this. Top 2 still up the road here as they're getting racy. Roberts going to ditch Wanzing, jump around. Roberts now leads that high line. He will now jump low. Almost seeing the air like Senior did. He is now on that low line as he is now pulling. He has caught the back of Lawrence and Sears. We're going to cut back to the lead for a second here, but we're keeping an eye on that second pack. Wanzing will jump low as well, as he will get in front of Oberstadt. Hagen now will be in the middle groove with the other Oberstadt brother behind. Again, top 3, the leaders are just up the road there. We're focusing on this, as this is the closest thing we have to battling. Right there, there's our leader, Lawrence, Sears, and Roberts, all under a blanket. This time by 3 laps to go. Roberts going to try to make a groove, but he needs to wait for some help. Will it stay green, more importantly, and will all cars make it back? Withers, Lawrence is trying whatever he can. He's pushing the ever-loving you-know-what out of Withers. Sears, and here comes the pack. Hagen going to go high. Hagen with the help of Mongold. Feather place there in tow. It is now game on here as that high line is moving. Up front, though, it is still the Lawrence show. Oh, Hagen gets into Sears. Sears gets hip-checked. We stay green. Cars battle it out, fighting for spots, but we stay green more importantly as we go to the wide shot here. Lawrence, that could be some reprieve. It's still racy. It's 4 wide back here as we're now coming to 2 laps to go. It is a pure race right now as cars are fighting tooth and nail to try to make something happen here. What can be done? Lawrence, Hagen, Roberts, we're staying far shot here. Look at that move. Hagen going to try to get to the front here on the low line. Side by side for the race lead. Hagen trying to call his shot. You can see Stefan Oberstadt for a second there. Going to try to split the middle difference. He will jump low. As they come off of 4, Wanzing going to have a third groove. Few cars have to pit here. Withers pulling off. Lawrence is going to get into him. We stay green. They run in the pit lane. They spin, but no caution is going to be called here. As we get ready, Zier gets into Oberstadt. We stay green. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go. Brought to you by Smeal Racing Designs. It is a pure race right now. Drivers fighting it out tooth and nail. It's Hagen, Roberts, middle groove of Wanzing and Feather Place. Cars not giving out. Does Featherplace and Wanzing have something to do on that high groove? Roberts going to jump high. You can see right now going to go low. Wanzing, Roberts on the low line. Featherplace, Hagen on the high side as they come off through the tri-oval. Cars colliding. Feebster gets in the Sharp, up in the George, and the Sears and the Millet. We'll check that in a minute as they're coming down the long straight. It's going to be a drag race. Wanzing, Roberts going to throw one block. Roberts going to try to throw two as they come through the tri-oval. It's going to be Brandon Roberts finding victory lane with Seth Wanzing in second and Brandon Featherplace, highest of the playoff drivers, in third. Brayout brings it home fourth, and John Hagen brings out the top five. Brandon Roberts drove it all well tonight, and even though he is not in the playoffs, he will play spoiler, and he will give himself a good cushion in the silver bracket, and will also make it so no drivers are locked in going into the penultimate round next week at Michigan. Millet, Sharp, Zier round the rest of the top 10. Baxter 6th, George 7th, Millet 8th, Sharp 9th, Zier your top 10. So we'll stay on this for a moment, watch Roberts do his celebration here. We'll take a look at that replay of what happened on that final lap. And then we'll go through the results and then the interviews. But Brandon Roberts, your race leader, and I think it was a fuel mileage race, as you can see. We'll go inside the cockpit here. I think that car may be out of gas. Yeah, he is coasting along with Zier. So that was fuel concern. Drivers were saving and clutching and trying to make a magical number. And Lawrence ran it out dry. And you can see right now Roberts is not going to have enough probably to spurn it down. As you can see, Alfred George ends up giving him a little bit of celebration push here as they come off through the straights. So we'll see our race leader get some help back here. We'll see if he's got anything left or he's just going to pull in. I'm kind of curious now. As you see a lot of other cars. Zier, obviously, she basically ran out of gas. A lot of cars ran out of fuel, just trying to find that extra denominator of fuel here. So we see Roberts coast in, just coasting. I just want to see if he does anything. Then we'll take a look at some things here. Yeah, just going to try to coast it out here to the line. So while he does that, and he does his little celebration, we'll take a look at the final results here. The unofficial final results, see where everyone cycles out. So as you can see right there, Brandon Roberts takes a victory here tonight with Seth Wanzing in second, Brandon Featherplace in third, Brayout fourth, Hagen fifth, Baxter sixth, Alfred George seventh. He actually does have a little bit of fuel left, so we'll hold off on this just to show it off. So he did save a little extra fuel here for Roberts. I thought he was going to come to a stop, but we're going to let him have his moment here. Then we'll go back to the results in a second. So Brandon Roberts, your race winner. As you can see on the driver details here, it's been well over, almost coming up to a year since his last win in A squared. Well, now he can cash that off, and now it goes back to 0. So now Roberts finishing up his burnout here, and now I think he's officially out of gas now, or at least almost out. See if he's got anything left, then we'll go back to the results. Yep, so as he does a few extra circles and parks it up, we'll finish up our results here. Featherplace, Brayout, Hagen, Baxter, George, Millet, Sharp, Zier, your top 10. 5 out of the 8 playoff drivers finish inside the top 10. Sears 11th, Oberstadt 12th, Patrick Oberstadt 12th, Stefan Oberstadt 13th, Jonathan Adams 14th, Daniel Michelle 15th, Kevin Feemster 16th, Mongold 17th, Proudfoot 18th, Ray 19th, Josh Gaiman rounding out the top 20. As we move further down, we'll have Wright, Lawrence, DeLayla, Withers, Battles, 24th, 25th. Obviously, Withers finishing not on his own power there at the end. Battles, Markowski, Kerr, and Thompson rounding out the top 28. We'll take one more quick look at one thing. We're going to look at that final lap real fast. If we can. Let me see if I can find the right angle for this. Just give me a second here. Think we're on the final lap here? Nope. Hold on. I think we got one more lap here. I think I'm a little bit further up here, so hold up. Let me just get to the white flag here. We're going to take a quick look at this. Yeah, I'm way late in the replay here. Hold up 1 second, please. If I can find this quickly. If not, we'll just say we'll check it afterwards. Yeah, no, we are way late. Hold up. Checker flag. So we're going to take a look at this white flag real fast. Right about here. So here's the white flag. So we're going to take a look here. I'm just going to watch it out in full speed here from a wide angle. You can see Zier gets in the feather place there. That caused both cars to go down. Oberstadt checks out, but Zier gets back up the road here. As they go through the tri-oval here, you're going to see the first major kind of catastrophe happen here. As you can see cars fighting out for position. This is where it stacks to the field, and you're going to see major chaos happen here. As you can see, Feather Place and Wanting make their charge a little bit further back. We're going to focus on Alfred's George here. 3 wide, 4 wide. His cars now fan out, and you're going to see basically his cars make moves here heading through the tri-oval. You're going to see Feemster, I believe. Yeah, Feemster gets split 3 wide there. Get right in the sharp. They get stuck together. They check down. They come up the road. Sears in the millet. And they do a good job saving it. Even the cars get torn up. You can see Feemster gets hooked around sideways along with Sharp, and that's going to bleed Sharp some spots. But that is how that finish shaped up. But up front, Roberts did some great blocks, and he gets home the checkered flag. So that's how the last lap shaped up. So now we're going to take the interviews now to the interview portion of our broadcast, and we're going to hear the top 3 and their thoughts about tonight's festivities. We're going to start with third to first here. So let me just back up the wrong one. That's the one. So we'll go with third place first, third, and then we'll work our way up. Brandon, this is Kevin the A-Band booth. You got a copy? Good. It's going good. Obviously, you had a eventful race there around Talladega, and obviously we got to start at the beginning here. So take us through, because obviously you were the playoff driver and the only playoff driver finishing inside the top 3. But take us through your mindset in those first 2 stages. What was the end goal? Obviously, you want to get stage points, but what was the mindset? How greedy did you want to be to get those elusive stage points?
It's a necessity. I mean, coming into these races, I don't have high expectations for myself. I generally don't do well, statistically speaking, at super speedways. So, I knew coming into this that I needed to make the most out of this that I could, because this was almost like a throwaway race. Like I just thought for sure I was going to get wrecked out.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mindset was make sure I get as many points as I can and don't kill the car.
Mm-hmm. I mean, with how they were racing, I thought someone was going to at least end it around, but considering almost everyone finished on their own power, it definitely was a trait to see. But let's go through that final stage here, because this is the all-important question. We saw drivers come in and hit that window, and I'm going to guess right now there were fuel concerns because it seemed like drivers were lifting and coasting. But I got to ask maybe a 2-part question. A, how comfortable were you on fuel? And secondly, we kind of cut to you about you taking 4 tires there. Was that a bit of a mistake? Because when you came out, you were about 3 seconds back, and I was a bit worried you weren't going to make the draft. So were you good to go on fuel, and was the 4 tires call what you wanted to do, or was that a mistake?
Oh, on the last stop?
Yes.
I only took 2 on the last stop.
Oh.
My problem was I was just slow getting into the box. So um, we came in kind of staggered. Instead of me being on the inside, because my pit box was closer than everyone else's, I stayed out, not really thinking about it. And so, yeah, that was a mistake on my end. Um, but we were short. I mean, I was short. I was short by a lot. And I kind of didn't know how this was going to play out because at one point I was 3 laps short. And I was pushing Donald Ray, pushed him all the way up to the front, just assuming that I was going to have to stop for fuel, like the race is over. And so when everybody was, on the in line power was basically saying, "Hey, we need to save. Let's do what we can to save." Um, I started right then, and luckily, uh, I think I ran out coming into turn 1 at the checkered, um, because I had just gotten even with 5 to go,
Mm-hmm. Wow.
uh, to have enough fuel. So
It was obviously we didn't hit it right away because we didn't know the exact numbers, but when we saw drivers lifting and like we saw Feemster pulling away and then we saw Lawrence holding, we knew, at least I knew looking at it, drivers were trying to hit those numbers. But let's talk
oh
about
yeah,
that final.
everybody was like a half. What they were like half throttle,
Yeah.
3/4 throttle.
And you just see a driver make a Superman run like Millet. It's like, keep an eye on Millet, and he just charged towards the front. So drivers were definitely trying to hit those magical numbers. Take us through that final lap, because obviously at that point you hit your number, all gloves were off. You were going, and we saw you work up with Wansing there. So take us through that last lap from your perspective and what was going through your mind as you were trying to maybe keep the car in one piece, but maybe also find that elusive checkered flag.
Well, I have like I had like no experience being even in the top 5 on the last lap. So at that point, I was just like, you know what? I got Wanzing right here. I know he's fast, and I'm just gonna push him and see what happens. And unfortunately, I wanted to tell Lilac Zier, I wanted to apologize. I think I got into her door. I was target fixated on the rear bumper. I believe that was Wanzing that was in front of me right then.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that she was there. So that was on me. Um, but, just around that last lap, I just thought I'm just going to shove and just see what happens. Maybe I'm going to run out of fuel. Maybe I won't. Maybe they'll start wrecking. We'll see. And when Roberts came up to block Wanzing going into three, I hesitated, and I should have just, kept her wide open and drive to the bottom and seen what would have happened. But I just hesitated just that little bit, and I think that's what kept them in front. And then Braille, I think Braille was going to pass me through the trioval, and he must have run out of gas because I kept going.
Yeah,
So
from what we saw on the
it all worked
replay,
out.
he did keep the foot down. So if he did run out of gas, he just lost the charge there. We did see a little bit of some stack ups, but overall, though, it was a good race overall. Obviously, doing some quick math here, can't fully give you a confirmation, but I think right now, unofficially, I think I have you slotted P4 out of the 8 playoff drivers. So with Michigan next week, and it basically being basically a paper clips close between you and everyone else, as no one was locked in. What is your mindset going into Michigan to try to get that 34 machine back to the Final Four like it did last year?
I'm hungry. I mean, by this point last season, I haven't been on the outside. So this is definitely new for me, and it's been a rough year. There's been a lot of things that have happened on and off the track, um, and I just need to maximize the amount of points, keep the nose clean, and try to pull out something at Michigan. I feel pretty good there, so hopefully, fingers crossed. Either put it in victory lane or at the very least top five.
Mm-hmm. We saw last week, obviously last week at Bristol, you knew what the goal were and you got the job done. So we'll see if you can do it again at Michigan. But obviously, we've gotten to the portion of the broadcast where if there's anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, whatever, the floor is yours. Take it away.
I'd like to thank Lion Power and Tom Sears and everyone who helped today, all the teammates, my friends and family for watching. The girlfriend, she was watching, rooting me on, and so that was nice. And um, just want to thank you for the broadcast and all the admins here at ARCS for doing what they do every single weekend to make sure these races go off without a hitch. And other than that, um, we will see you in Michigan.
All right, great talk, your Brandon Feather Place, and let's hope you can get that car in the Final Four at Miami. But regardless, you take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you. You too.
And that was our third place finisher, Brandon Feather Place, and that will move us on quite nicely to our second place finisher, Seth Wanzing, and we'll hear his thoughts now. Seth, this is Kevin, the ABM booth. Got a copy?
Hey, Kevin, I got you.
Obviously, different from being an in-car reporter, now on the podium again. Obviously, we got a lot to talk about, and we'll start at the beginning. Obviously, at the beginning, we saw you're usually a driver that's very aggressive in the first two stages, but here it looks like you took a little bit of a backseat approach. What was your mindset in those first two stages? Maybe you were trying to help out your teammate Proudfoot try to get forward into the playoffs. What was your mindset in those first two stages?
It was a little bit of a fuel game in both, and as many times as I've been talking to you guys, I'm not exactly the best fuel mileage guy on the planet, so I just tried to mind my P's and Q's and make sure I was at a safe number. And I know that I'm a good enough plate racer to where if I wait till 5 or 6 to go on the stage, then I can usually find my way to the front, and that's kind of what I did. I tried to help Proudfoot whenever I could. I hope he ended up well and all that mess. But yeah, the first two stages, you're right. I'm usually the first guy making the third lane, kind of leading laps, but took the more cautiously aggressive approach this time around, and it almost paid off, but just came up a bit short.
Mm-hmm. let's talk about that final stage. Obviously, we're talking about fuel mileage saving and trying to hit those magical numbers. And then we saw the final pit stop occur, and drivers were starting to lift and coast and make saves. So, again, we know from Feather Place, he was in communication with his team. They were trying to save. I'm kind of curious, in your own mindset as well, you were trying to direct the troops. What was your mindset? Obviously, you were saving, but was it get to the front and then save? Were you trying to use? What was going through those last 25 laps, just trying to hit that magical number so then you could go gloves off to the finish?
I really, at the beginning of stage 2, I think you saw me. I felt bad. I checked that top lane up till I had a hole on the restart to get to the bottom, and I kind of just rode there. I'd make the pass here and there, but I never cracked the throttle on that bottom line. I knew that people will race for the first 5-10 laps of the stage, and then that bottom line will cycle guys up. That ended up happening, and me, Lilac, and Tom were able to go 26 laps instead of 25, and that was really the difference. And we came out right behind that big pack and caught their draft. I wasn't as careful as maybe I should have been in the opening parts of I didn't have as much fuel as I thought I did to start. I was by myself in a chat tonight. Proudfoot wasn't feeling too good and just needed to be away from people and just kind of ride it out. But I just tried the max numbers. Okay, 10 to go, how much fuel do I got? 5 to go, how much fuel do I got? And when I got to 3 to go, I had about 3.2 left. So I was like, we're gonna hammer down and see what happens. So and yeah, almost got her done, but just came up a bit short.
Yeah.
My PC didn't have any issues for the first time in like weeks. So small victory for there as well. Shout out iRacing finally for remoting into my stuff. So
yeah, I know. Obviously, you finishing one of these races was definitely the most important thing you could go for, and obviously, hopefully, it rectifies more problems, fix moving onward. Speaking of, obviously, you talked a little about the final lap, but I do want to know from your perspective as well. We saw Bren for those double blocks. Was there anything you think you could do to get around him, or do you think coming out of 4, it was pretty much curtains, or what was going through that last lap in your mindset?
That last lap, I was telling Ren I wanted to be that first guy, not necessarily in line or like in open air, but just that first guy in those little pockets, because usually you get in pockets of 4 or 5 and like 6 different lanes, even sometimes whenever you get to the last lap, and I just wanted enough room to be on offense to where I could be really aggressive elevator moves, and I was able to get up in front of Fetter Place. And I thought going into 1 and 2 that we were screwed. I thought Brandon Hagen had timed it just right to where sometimes in the server, if you lock bumpers, you're not going to catch those guys. But we started catching them off too, and I think Hagen was sort of trying to pedal it to the line. And Bryn threw a really good block. And, Kevin, maybe sometimes I should be more mean, but I kind of tried to lift and split the middle, but Hagen kind of closed that up, and it was either sandwich all 3 of us and kind of wreck all of us, or try to build something again. And Fetter Place kind of lost my bumper, and Bryn did a really nice job. Love Bryn, and he did what he had to do. I would have been blocking too, so not mad at all. I'm okay with taking care of guys that take care of me too. I'd rather us all race back to the line than not. So I knew in the 3 when I wasn't sucking up like I liked off of 4 that it was pretty much over. But Bryn did a hell of a job. Haven't ever gone winless in a season, but running out of time. So as much as this is a win for me and getting everything fixed, and hopefully it stays that way on the technology side, second still sucks. I'd like to keep consecutive seasons, like 6 or 7, ever since A Squared started, of winning at least 1 race. So we'll see what we can't do at Michigan next week.
Well, maybe you'll have your Matt Kansas arc at Michigan. Speaking of Michigan, obviously you're risk racing for pride here. Obviously just getting some good points for Tombstone in the Constructors. So thoughts on Michigan? Think it's a track we could see you finally get that first win this season?
Yeah, I won last year. I really like Michigan, no matter the car. I won there last year, so I definitely think we'll be in contention there. Just got to play it right. I hope it doesn't turn into a fuel mileage. I am not a fuel mileage guy, contrary to tonight. That was definitely um, trying a new approach, and it worked. So, but definitely think Michigan could be one on the docket where we could get a win. Homestead too, but it all depends.
Alrighty. Obviously, Seth, it's been great talking to you. If there's anyone you want to thank, family, friends, sponsors, whatever, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, Kevin, just want to thank you guys up in the booth and ABM for all you do. All the ARCS admin, all the fans watching at home. I want to thank my lovely girlfriend, pardon me, for watching, and my friends and family watching back home. They tune in every week, and want to thank Midwest Barbecue, Henderson Graphics, and Anheuser-Busch County Beverage Division. Shout out to them for coming along for the ride this year. And we will go to Michigan and see what we can't do.
Alrighty. Great talk to you, Seth Wansing, as always. Maybe if your computer holds up, maybe we'll have the in-car race reporter next week. But if not, you take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Yep, good to talk to you, Kevin.
And that was Seth Wansing, our second place driver. And we only got one more driver left. That is going to be our race winner, Bren Roberts. We'll hear his thoughts now. Bren, this is Kevin, the ABN booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Obviously, you had a very eventful race and also a very eventful playoff as well. But obviously, we got to start at the beginning like we do for all these things. Starting off, obviously, in the first stages, you were an aggressive dynamo. Unlike some other drivers that were saving or doing things, you had nothing to lose. You were just obviously running in the silver bracket. So take us through that mindset in those first two stages and how you were just basically just doing whatever you needed to ensure you'd be up front to try to win this thing when it all came to crunch time.
Yeah, I mean, I was just having fun out there, just racing people and blocking. And I know we got the talk, don't block. Well, I didn't really listen, so I was blocking from lap one. We were just having fun. And, hey, you have fun, you run up front. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, no, that's 100% a good idea. When you're up front, you avoid the wrecks and all that stuff. Obviously, came to the final pit stop on the green. There were fuel concerns, so I got to ask. We asked Wands and we asked Feather Place your mindset as well. What was going through your mind? You obviously had to save, but how much aggressively you were saving? Because we obviously saw you charge front. So, what was your mindset on that final pit stop and then that additional 25 lap stint? What was your mindset trying to save that fuel to get it so it was gloves off?
Well, to walk it back to the start of the final stage, I was saving right from the jump. I thought there was a chance we could make it, and I kept going back and forth on whether we could make it or not. I didn't think it was going to go green, and then I didn't think we could make it, and then I thought we could make it, so my strategy kind of changed a couple times. Throughout it all, I was just saving, right in line, saving, about 75% throttle, sometimes down to 50. With that last pit stop, I probably could have made it another lap and pitted with Seth and whoever he pitted with, but I didn't know who was going to be with them, and I felt comfortable with the people that pitted the lap before, so I came. I could have used that extra lap, not have to save as much, but, it worked out. Once I knew with 4 to go, I was going to go regardless of whether I was good or not and just see what happens. Mm-hmm. And I felt pretty good about my number. I felt like I could go regardless of if I was going 100%, 50%. I felt like I was going to make it. So I went and I passed like 10 or 12 cars on the outside because everybody's going so slow. That's how fuel mileage racing works, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, just right place, right time.
Yeah, right place, right time indeed. Speaking of, let's go through that final lap as well, where it was basically gloves to the wall, and you were basically pretty much linked up with your teammate there out of 3 and 4, former teammate, I should say, in Seth Wansing. So take us that last lap in your respective as well, and also those moves you had to do to ensure you kept that car in first place.
Yes, I mean, I got hooked up with John Hagan, and I didn't realize, but he was actually short, so when we got hooked up, I was trying to push him out so it'd just be one of us winning the race. And in an ideal world, I'd pull out on him and off of 4 or into the tri-oval and win the race. What I didn't know was that he was still struggling to make it. He was running 75% throttle. So that's why Seth and Fetter Place caught us. And we're lucky they didn't have a bigger head of steam because Fetter Place said that he was running 75% throttle. So if they were running full head of steam, we probably all would have wrecked because I was throwing that block regardless. I told Seth, that I love Seth. Seth treats me very well. Seth's a good man, but I had to do what I had to do. I got picked second, and I've been a disappointment, and so I had to get this win for Ryan, for Lilac, for Boss, for the whole team. I had to do it.
Yeah, hey, you got it. Sometimes you got to think for yourself, and it definitely showed out quite well here. Speaking of, next week is Michigan. Obviously, not any major playful implications, but you are trying to extend your lead in the silver bracket. So, thoughts on Michigan as a track? Do you think you'd see you go back-to-back here?
No, I don't think back-to-back. I think I can have a good run. Guys like Millet, Fetter Plays, Hagen, they're too fast. I mean, I can't really compete with that. I just kind of have to get right place, right time. I am kind of angry, though. I was 6 points out of the playoffs. I think if I had 6 more points, I probably would be in the championship 4 right now. But, it is what it is. That's just how the season went. And go to Michigan, go to Homestead, and then get ready for next year.
Yep, got to get back on that horse and try again. Anyway, as it is part of the broadcast, if anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, whatever, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, thanks to you for doing a great broadcast. Now I know we moved to YouTube, so good move there. I'm on board with that. Thanks to Ryan for picking me again. I'm glad I can somewhat live up to second overall pick. Lilac and Boss, they're great teammates. They help every single week. I'm going to help Lilac next week, and hopefully we can get into the championship 4 with her. And yeah, shout out to Jared and Blake, and yeah, I'm just happy to get a win.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously you're very happy you enjoy. Oh, I got one more quick question as well. When you came off of 4, what was the fuel looking like as well? Were you out of fuel? Were you trying to save to have enough for the burnout? What was out of the last lap? What was the fuel looking like?
So I crossed the line. I had 0.3 left.
Oh.
So I had 0.3 laps, not gallons.
Yeah, I know.
0.3 laps. So
yeah.
It was pretty close. But I didn't really care. If I ran out coming out of 4, I mean,
yeah,
you got a chance to win the race, and I was going full throttle. Is what it is.
I don't blame.
I'm not racing for points.
Yeah, you're racing for
racing
pride,
for
and you're
points,
racing for wins. And I know you saved a little bit to make sure you had enough to spin those tires at least a little bit. But anyway, great
Yep.
talk to you, Brent. You have a good rest of your week, and you take care. If we talk to you again, well, we do.
Thank you.
And that was our race winner, Bren Roberts, and that will conclude interviews here tonight. So obviously, we have gone over the news, and we've gone over everything else. Last thing to do is I do have some unofficial, by my own calculations, knowing that the series runs the NASCAR points and all that, I do have some unofficial numbers here to show where everyone is. So for those tuning in, you get some unofficial scoops of what the field looks like going into next week. Right now at the moment, if my math is correct, John Hagen is still our points leader. He's 17 points above the cut line. Then, after that, it is 3 points. Zach Millett is only 3 points above the cut line. He's in second. Third place is Lilac Zier, 1 point above the cut line. And then Brandon Featherplace drove it like he stole it. He will be the last driver in at the moment. So the 4 drivers, if the season ended today, which it hasn't, it would be Hagen, Millett, Zier, and Featherplace, your top 4. After that, you then got the next driver in line. It is going to be Alyssa Pelletier-Sharp, 4 points back. Then you got Brandon Proudfoot, 7 points back. And then you got both Michelle and Gaiman, 13 points back. Going to have to aggressively stage drive or go for a home run win next week at Michigan if they want to make the Final 4. So unofficially, again, the Final 8 in the order are the 4 drivers in are Hagen, Michelle, Zier, and Featherplace, but that is subject to change due to penalty points, other math that I may have missed, and other things. But that is how it looks up unofficially going into Michigan next week. So make sure you keep an eye on all the ABN socials and A Squared socials for updates when the official numbers come out and officially crunched. And we will see next week here on ABN Studios for the penultimate round at Michigan at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a great one. And at the end of that broadcast, we will know the 4 drivers officially going to compete for a championship at Homestead. Everyone else, take care, have a good rest of your evening, and we'll be talking to you next week.